Good morning, students. I hope you all are very well. So today, let's begin with new chapter of history. That is chapter 9. Name of chapter is Women, Caste and Reforms. Students, we will cover this chapter in two parts. In part 1, we will talk about the introduction of this chapter, what were the various changes and how the lives of widows were being changed, and also when girls started to going to school. And in part 2, we will study about the caste and social reforms, demands for equality and justice, Gulamgiri, and who could enter the temples. So, without any delay, let's begin with part 1. Let's go back to 200 years back, or 200 years ago. Things were very different as compared to today's time, as many children were married off at early age. Now, what may be called when children get married in early age? Child marriage. And in the ancient time, men would having the privilege of marrying more than one woman. Means any man can marry two or more than two women, and he can live with them. In some parts of the country, not all, widows were praised if they chose to death by burning themselves. Means in some parts of the country, not all, widows were being treated as good lady, or they were being praised, or they were given good talks if they choose to die by burning themselves on the funeral fire of their husband. And those women who dies in this manner or in this way, they were known as sati. Women choose to this type of death either willingly or forcefully. Women's right to property was also restricted, means any woman cannot have her part in the family property, and most of them were not having any kind of access to the education. In many parts of the country, people believe that if a woman was educated, means in many parts of the country it was being believed that if woman was given proper education, then she could become widow, means no person would marry her. Let's move forward. Difference between man and woman were not only once in the society, as in most of the region people were divided into different caste. Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they consider themselves as the upper caste, and others such as traders, money lenders, they were often referred to as Vaishyas. And these traders and money lenders, they were placed after the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Then came peasants or the worker class, such as weavers, potters, and they were referred to as Shudras. And at the lowest rung, there were those laborers or those persons who keep cities and villages clean, or they worked at jobs, and the upper caste considered themselves as untouchables. And over 19th and 20th century, there were many norms and perception which changed slowly, working towards change. From the starting of 19th century, we find that, or we could see the debates and discussion about various social custom prevailing in the society, and various practices which were being taking a new shape or a new character. One of the important reasons for this was, or why these custom and practices were changing, because it was being believed that the development of new form is necessary in communication process. For the first time, newspaper, books, magazines, leaflets, and pamphlets were printed in many parts of the country. Ordinary people can read them, and many people have the right, or many people could also write and express their feelings and their ideas in their own language with the help of these printed materials. Issues of any kind, maybe it is social, political, economic, and religious, any kind of issues, they could be debated or discussed by many persons, especially sometimes by women in the new cities. The discussion could reach, as the print media can reach to many persons. So the discussion having or taking place at a particular place have reached to many people or wider people, and it could become link for the moment of social change. These debates or these discussions were often initiated by Indian reformers and various reform groups. One such reformer was Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who lived from 1772 to 1833. He was the founder of a Reform Association, or he was the leader of Reform Association, which was also known as the Brahmo Sabha, or which was later been known as the Brahmo Samaj in Calcutta. People such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy, they were being known as the reformer because they felt that, or they thought that, the changes are very necessary in the society, and the unjust practice or uneven practices must be removed, because he thinks that unjust practice will harm the human society. They thought that the best way to ensure such changes by persuading people, and he also thought that if they have to remove the unjust practice, so they have to persuade people, they have to educate people, they have to tell the people that they must leave the old practice and to adopt new way of living or the new way of life. Rajaram Mohan Roy was being keen to spread the knowledge of Western education throughout the Indian country, and he wanted to bring the greater freedom and equal status for women, changing the life of widows. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was particularly moved, or he was very affected by the problems of widows which were facing in their lives, and he also started a campaign, a movement against which against the practice of sati. He was well versed in, or he was having very good knowledge in Sanskrit, Persian, and other Indian and European language, and he tried to show his thoughts with writings. And he also says that the burning of widow, this practice was not having any place in ancient text. Means widow or the sati practice was not having any proof in the earlier age. And by the early 19th century, there were many British who began to criticize different Indian tradition and customs. They were therefore more willing to listen. So the Britishers were also very willing to listen Rajaram Mohan Roy, who was reputed to be a learned man. And after listening to Rajaram Mohan Roy, Britishers, they finally banned sati practice in 1829, changing the lives of widows. Let's continue with this topic. The strategy adopted by Rajaram Mohan Roy was used by many reformers in the upcoming times. Whenever any reformer he wished to challenge, or he wants to challenge any practice which may be harmful, so they try to find a sentence in the ancient text which supported their point of view. Means, say if there is a person and he thinks that a particular practice is very harmful in nature, then he will try to look for some proof from the ancient texts which could support his point. They suggested that the practice as it existed at present was against early tradition. Means the practice was against the early tradition. One of the famous reformer, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, he used ancient texts, or he took ancient texts to suggest that widow can remarry, and his suggestion was also been supported and adopted by the British official, and they made a law which was passed in 1856, and it says that widow can remarry if she wants to. Those who were against the remarriage of widow opposed, and it was obvious that there would many person who would oppose the widow remarriage, and therefore they also started to oppose Vidyasagar, and they boycotted them from the Samaj. By the second half of 19th century, means around 1950s and after, the movement in the favor of widow remarriage spread. Means there was a movement which was spread many parts of the country in favor of widow remarriage. Okay. In the Telugu speaking area, means Telugu area of Madras, Panatallu, they formed an association for widow remarriage, or we can say in simple language that in Telugu speaking area there was a widow remarriage association being formed. And during the same time, young intellectuals, young people, and many reformers in Bombay, they take pledge, they promise themselves that they will work for widow remarriage. And in the north, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who formed a reform association or the group of people known as Arya Samaj, they also supported the widow remarriage process. Yet the number of widows who actually remarried, it remained low. Means out of all widows, there were many less number of widows who could remarry again. Those who married, or those widows who were married again, they were not easily accepted by the society or the people, and many other conservative groups, they continued to oppose the new law, and in the meanwhile the girls started to go to school, they were getting education. There were many reformers, they felt that, they thought that girls education was very necessary so that it could improve their living condition in the life. Vidyasagar in Calcutta, and there were many other reformers in Bombay, they set up different schools for the girls. And if we talk about the first school, it was opened in the mid 19th century, and there were many people who were still afraid that school would take the girls away from their home, and the girls, as they were focused on studies, they will not do their domestic works. And for going to school, girls have to travel through public places, and there were many people that it there were many people they thought that it could have a bad impact on girls, and the conservative people felt that, thought that the girls must stay away from public places. Girls place is home only. And throughout the 19th century, most educated women were taught at home by liberal fathers and husbands. Still, the girls who want to go to school but they were not able to do so, So they were being taught at home by either by their father or their husband, and sometimes women could taught themselves. In the later part of the 19th century, school for girls, it was established in by the Arya Samaj in Punjab and Jyotirao Phule in Maharashtra. If we talk about the Muslim household in the North India, women, they were made learn to read the Quran in Arabic. These various mean ways. It would encourage women to read about religion and domestic management in their language, which they could understand easily. Women write about women. From the early 20th century or from the starting of the 20th century, Muslim women like the Begums of Bhopal, they played a very important role in promoting education among the women group. They founded a primary school for girls in Aligarh. Many schools which were dedicated especially for girls, it was being set up, and by the 1880s, Indian women began to enter university for the higher studies, and some of them were also made themselves as doctor and teachers. There were many women who began to write and publish their views on the place of women having in the society. Tarabai Shinde, she was an educated woman and homed at Pune. She published a book known as Sthir Shuddhana. It means it was a comparison between men and women in the society, and in that book she criticizes the social difference between men and women in the society, as women were not treated equal to the men. Pandita Ramabai, she was a great scholar or great knowledge person of Sanskrit. She felt that Hinduism was oppressive towards women, means the religion was not supporting women, and she wrote a book about the bad life condition of upper caste women. She founded a widow's home at Pune, and she made a widow's home where widow could live easily. And the aim of building a widow home in Pune was to provide the shelter to widows who were treated badly in their homes by their relatives. And in that particular widow home, the women were trained so that they could earn their living easily. There were many nationalists or national leaders. They felt that women were adopting Western way of living, and this could corrupt the culture and will finish the family values. By the end of 19th century, by the end of 19th century, women themselves were actively working. These women were so educated that they could actively take part in any reforms, as they were started to write books and in magazines. They founded schools and training center, and they together would set up a women's association. And if we talk about the early 20th century, they formed, means here they refers to the women. They formed political pressure group to push through laws for female suffrage. They started to demand the equality for women. First was the right to vote and better health care facility and education for various women. Many joined various kind of national. There were many women who joined various kind of national movement and socialist movement, and also the independence movement. And in the 20th century, leaders such as Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, they thought that women must get equal treatment, and they support their demands of greater equality and freedom for women. Nationalist leader promised that the national leader they promised that there would be full suffrage of all men and women after independence. Means equal rights would be given for both men and women. Till then, means till the meantime, they asked women to concentrate on anti-British struggles. So here is the summary of this chapter. First, left corner. Here you can see a sati practice being performed here on the burning pyre of the husband. Woman was made to sit alive and to burn herself. This practice was banned by the Britishers. In the second, child marriage is not good for the society, and Hindi, which we can say that कच्ची उम्र के पक्के रिश्ते. The child age, either she's girl or boy. In the early age, they must be focused towards the studies only. In the left bottom corner, there is a widow, and in the second, there is widow who is ready to get remarried again. In the center bottom, girls going towards school and getting their proper education. And in the right corner, both up and down, we all know these four very renowned ladies of India. So there is a homework for you. Write their names in your copy and also try to find out more women who are being renowned or famous in their respective fields. So here comes the end of part 1. I hope you have understood this chapter. I hope you have understood this part. Read the chapter again and again and listen to this video very carefully so that you could understand this very well. Thank you.